Welcome to the Sensational Podcast. We are your hosts, Osama and Sammy, and we are the Sensational Ones, where we sit down with sensations around us that are doing real good things in our community. Today we have our guest is a very respected individual in his field, traveled the world, changed many lives, and still is to this day. Also a model on the side. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Towa with us today. What's happening, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Nice
Appreciate
to
it.
be here.
Yeah, man. Man, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good, man. Just weekend in Sydney, you know.
Yeah.
It's a bit dry, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
Sydney's like that sometimes.
Yeah, Sydney's like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. Introduce yourself for people that don't know you. Where you're from? What's your background? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Tolu. I'm from Nigeria.
Shout out to Nigerians.
Spent quite a lot of time growing up. Well, we'll try. Spent quite a lot of time growing up in London as well.
Yeah.
Got my medical degree.
Yeah.
Which is obviously where a doctor comes from. I've also got a master's in law. Also did a degree in clinical sciences. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And I've also been raising money for charity for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
So obviously, various different charities throughout the years. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, just in the books, man. In the books. How long you've in total have you been in school? Like
about 8 years.
Yeah.
In total.
Yeah.
8 years of fun. Most people only get like 3-4 years of uni. I've been forever. Yeah. What
type of student are you? You like head down. You don't talk to anyone. You just kind of, or you just one of them students just has to do what they do, but they still just still outside. And what type of student were you?
Just like balance, trying to find a practical balance. I'd say I'm definitely a last minute crammer. Always kind of have been like through medical school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like obviously know what I need to do and leaving it to the very last minute.
Yeah.
Before I did it, obviously definitely did it, but just that kind of last minute hustle kind of mentality.
And what motivates you to do what you do? Like obviously, being a young, African, these are great things that you've achieved. And what motivated you? Like, who was your inspiration to, achieve those sort of things that you've been doing?
I'd say obviously my parents are, prime motivators.
Yeah.
Definitely wanted a doctor. So didn't really have much say in that one.
Yeah.
I'd say obviously they've kind of pushed and kind of, strive for excellence, things like that.
Yeah.
And I'd say obviously God has also played like a big influence, a big part of my life, just in terms of, kind of where he wants me to be and, just having a focus, like moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously discipline as well.
Yeah, well,
it's not easy.
Yeah, being African, you grow up with discipline.
Yeah.
It's not a vocational course. It's not by the way, you kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a fun childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly.
Were you into sports or anything? Like you play any sports? Or it was good?
I kind of came out the gate like playing everything, man. I played basketball, played football, played American football, I played rugby.
Bro, for the people that don't know, man, how tall are you? Because you're pretty tall. Like, bro, like what, 6?
I'd say 6'4".
No, I was 6'4" on the dot. Yeah. 6'4", yeah.
We're pretty much the same height, I think.
Yeah. So, pretty tall, but, I played everything, man. Literally out the gate, wanted to do every sport, because I feel like it's interesting when you grow up in like an African kind of household, you weren't allowed to play out. You weren't allowed to do all these things because your parents think everyone who isn't also African and isn't also into their books is a bad influence.
Yeah.
So, you're like kind of constricted in that way. So the second year, you're set free, you're kind of running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah.
Trying to do everything.
Trying
to be in all the social groups, trying to be in all the sports teams and stuff like that because, you kind of never really had the opportunity. Because when you were growing up, it was like books.
Yeah.
It was like, why aren't you studying? You should be studying.
Yeah.
And what was your favorite sport? I don't know what sports you played and
I mean, I'd say my favorite sport's definitely basketball. I'd say basketball. I had a lot.
Who's your team?
Well, embarrassingly enough, I say this now. It's like the Brooklyn Nets. And I say that because they're terrible.
Yeah. Right now, yeah.
God.
Ever since KD
I
left, man.
was waiting for Lakers. I was gonna be like, yeah,
Really?
my man, but
It's Brooklyn Nets, bro.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I've been through it.
Season.
I've been through. I got for AKC, so we were bad for a long time. We're actually starting to go right now, so
it's actually not going too bad right now.
yeah.
So.
I think they're first in the West. So
Yeah, definitely bringing it back, man.
yeah. So man, so what nickname you like for like obviously Towa? Do you get people like Towa?
Yeah,
Tolu?
I'm just Tolu.
Yeah.
If you're real lazy, you can call me T.
T.
But that's just a letter in it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, most people call me Tolu.
Towa. So I've actually seen like I think we talked about the other day. You've been on the news a couple times for obviously big breakthroughs and I don't know topics about medical and stuff like that. Talk to Stuart. Like how did that happen? And obviously respected enough to be able to do that. Like what's the experiences in that?
So that's I've been on a few like news channels and stuff. Been on a few talk shows. It's just been obviously a huge part of that due to my agent. She's very good at what she does.
Yeah.
And also it's just talking about, a lot of it's talking about the NHS, So obviously in the UK we've got like the national healthcare system.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, free, but comes with its own challenges, long waiting times.
It's like that here too. Yeah.
So it's just a lot of topics on, just general things in terms of, just general healthcare, what the NHS is doing at the moment, and just, providing advice, kind of just like basic medical advice and things that in terms of what people are, keen to hear or keen to listen to.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what you do, on like news and TV.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But also talking about things like COVID and like kind of what, what kind of doctors went through in that kind of period of time.
What was that like? Sorry, I just cut you off there. But what was the experience like with the whole COVID situation?
Conspiracies.
It would have been a nightmare. Like being a doctor during that time, it was crazy. Like that's probably the craziest time period in my life. Like.
COVID was. I feel like everyone, like if you talk to like everyone have a different experience of kind of what COVID was like.
Yeah.
Some people found stardom. Some people picked up a new hobby.
Yeah.
Some people were scarred. Irreparably by COVID, and obviously some people were in the front line. Some people lost family members. Some people lost friends. Some people lost colleagues. So I feel like everyone's kind of understanding of COVID is completely different. Yeah. Obviously mine was, very frontline medicine, kind of like, so I was obviously in med school at that point in time. They graduated all of us early, like the whole cohort. Yeah. It was like, take your exams, your doctors now, and they just kind of threw us out there. And they were welcome to, COVID. And I was like, wow, that's, serious. It's just a lot of, it's just a really dark time, to be honest, man, just in healthcare. Yeah. Because obviously you have all the, like, you think you have the knowledge and the necessary resource to help people, and you shoot people dropping like flies, left, right, center. It's scary stuff, man.
What's, like, I find it scary that, like, you just finished med school, and you entering the doctor world. I don't know how that's pronounced. Medical world. And this is what you're facing. Straight away off the bat. Like, straight into it. Like, out of school, straight into it.
Yeah, it was pretty like, kind of jumping into the deep end. I feel like what COVID, obviously in hindsight now, what COVID taught me back then is, it will never be that bad. That was like as bad as it gets. Yeah. And everything after that is pretty much a blessing. Yeah. Everything after that is like, oh, this is, compared to COVID time, this isn't terrible. So, I suppose it gives you an appreciation of medicine because you've seen how bad it can get. So you kind of just appreciate kind of what it is right now. Yeah. Obviously, you've still got the, underpaid workers, the, over, like understaffed, working environments. You've still got all the general issues that you have, but you always kind of think back and go, it wasn't as bad as COVID. So it was trial by fire, and I feel like it made for stronger doctors. Yeah. But no one necessarily wants to start their medical career being scarred.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Generally.
Yeah, for sure. For the young audience out there, maybe they want to get into med school. They're in med school right now. Like, what are the main challenges in the industry? There, obviously, you were naming some with, like, overfluctuated hospitals and what are the main challenges you're faced?
I mean, main challenges is just it's tough, you know, especially being like an ethnic minority. You know, med school. You know, it's you are definitely a minority, which becomes very evident very quickly. This is obviously like through med school and stuff.
Yeah.
And you just kind of find a way to navigate the waters. You know, you adapt, you flow, I feel like you change a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because of your kind of surrounding environment,
100%.
you become a product of the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
And I know everyone's like, oh, you know, stay black. But
It doesn't work in that industry.
easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. You know, easier said than done. You have to kind of find your niche of people, your group of people that you get along with. And that's probably one of the toughest things, I'd say, kind of going through it. Obviously, you know, you still got the challenges of going through med school and how tough that is. And then you have to, you know, code switch and play the social rules and, you know, play the game. I mean, I'm not sure how many black medics you've spoken to, but what they will all say is you got to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the game.
Yeah, with a lot of industries as well, being a minority, it's like you can't be good, you have to be great until you can really get that respect behind your name. Yeah. And that's something that comes with it a lot of times. So yeah, I definitely understand that. That's not even, that's in like most industries. Yeah. So
like, I'm sure you would have faced that in your background.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
100%. But how was that in mining though for you?
Same thing. You know, you got to be the hardest worker in the room.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise you just okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we always have to excel. We always have to be the best in the room to be acknowledged. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Like it's I mean, I suppose the same with everything else. Like I feel like, you know, it's I got into med school, I don't really think about the kind of social, you know, aspects of what med school would be like. You're just so focused on getting in. Yeah, just like, I want to get in. I don't care what's going to be like there. I just want to get in. And then eventually you do get in, and then you kind of then have to, like you guys said, you have to sit down, you have to play the game.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be a master at it, you know, to be able to navigate these social waters, because that's all it is, you know. Uni's hard enough. Then you've got this added on top of it, you know, and then you've got the stress of actually being in med school.
Yeah.
Because obviously the weird thing about, obviously just for the like younger people out there, the weird thing about med school is it's not like a normal university experience. You know, you spend most of your time not even on campus. You don't really spend time integrating, unless you really go out of your way. You don't spend time integrating with everyone else that goes to uni.
Yeah.
Because you're a different kind of university student. Do you know what I mean? You spend time in placements, you're doing long hours, you're studying at weird times of the day, you know. Whereas everyone has this normal-ish uni experience. You don't really get that. You know, it's just completely different. You need to be ready for that. Some people, you know, like the fact that it is like that. Some people don't. You know, some people... Even when I did my other degrees, those were the most normal semblance of what uni was supposed to be like. That's what I got from that. And I was like, wow, so this is... People have fun in uni. Damn.
Did you, even while you were in med school, did you have like a mentor or someone giving you advice, or did you have someone to look up to and talk to about certain things, or were you just kind of in there experiencing everything and...
No, we had like, you know, obviously we've got like ACS, you know, Afro-Caribbean Society. You have like, you know, kind of, you have that strong kind of mentorship around you of people who understand the struggle.
You said ACS, did you? For the people
I don't understand that, so...
Afro-Caribbean Society.
Elaborate a little bit more.
That's what ACS is. So you have that in the UK. I'm not sure you all have that in Australia.
Nah, that's the first I heard about it,
Fair enough. So in most universities in the UK, you have an Afro-Caribbean Society. And obviously you have that in medics as well. It's just like a society of essentially just black young ethnic minorities saying, hey, welcome to the struggle. It's like a general welcome. You know, and it's just like a group of people who understand kind of what you're going through, you know, and who can empathize and who can, you know, give you advice if you need it. So there is a kind of strong sense of community there. It's interesting because in our med school, we didn't have like I think it was some of my friends that actually started the ACS Society in med school. because obviously you had one in the uni, but like I said, the uni experience is so different for medics. That in our uni, like we had to start our own, kind of ACS society just to kind of relate, so that everyone had like that kind of safe space that you could access, without, to just talk about random things from like, how your day's going and, the kind of things that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when we had a chat last time, you were telling me about a program that you're doing with the other fellow Nigerian doctor. Sorry, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Sophie.
Sophie.
So I think when we were in med school, this is, predominantly when we were in med school, and then kind of a little bit after we started essentially we started a company called Med School.
Yep.
So essentially the whole point of med school was to kind of mentor young ethnic minorities, or just anyone really who wanted to get into med school, and provide that support network. And, these are the things you need to do. This is what your personal statement needs to say.
Yep.
This is the kind of experience you need to get. Things like that, and kind of coaching them through the interviews as well. This is kind of what you need to say for your interview. This is the, and just doing that interview prep and interview practice. We've got quite a few testimonials, and just people, just being like, thank you very much for your help, stuff like that. And it's nice to see, obviously, to know that people are in med school now and people become great doctors in a day, because obviously you've had a kind of hand in that. It was, I think, me, Sophie, and then one of our other friends, Chris. We all went to like pre-med together.
Yeah.
And it was his idea in the first place. He was like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing. I honestly do think it's amazing because, you're inspiring some young kid out there that doesn't have the right direction in life, and they look up to you. And, also obviously Sophie as well. You're breaking barriers in our community, and, it's amazing what you guys are doing. I really think that it's a great program, and I want to see it become something that needs to be bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
Keep pushing for it, and I just think it's great to hear about it and to hear your story, So it's amazing, honestly. You keep it up.
I appreciate that. Thank God.
So so you do a bit of charity work as well. Talk through that. You've been doing it for 10 years, you said?
Yeah, so about 10 years. So it's funny how my kind of, delving into the charity world actually started. So must have been just before med school. I applied for a job as a charity fundraiser. This is like, the really annoying people on the streets. Like, you see them, you're like, oh my God. You're trying to find the exit, you're trying to find the window, you're trying to get out.
Try to put your head down.
I'm on my phone. So I applied for that, did my first day, and God, that was terrible. I feel like even as like a 17, 18-year-old kid, like you don't know how to take rejection.
Yeah.
You're not like used to people being kind of horrible to you for no reason.
Yeah.
You're just in the mindset of, I don't need this crap, or, that's the general mentality. So, kind of first day after I did that, I was like, wow, that was horrible. Went home. My dad said, oh, you got a job. I was like, yeah, I got a job. He's like, what's the job? I was like, well, it's charity fundraising. He just laughed. Like, absolutely laughed and said, what? He's like, there is no way you're going to last at the job.
Yeah.
He's like, nah. Yeah, he's like, nah, come on. I was like, you know what? Because you're going to laugh about it, because you're saying that there's no way I'm going to last at this job, that would be my one motivation to stay.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, my one motivation to stay.
Yeah.
So went back to work the next day, whole new mindset. And I was like, right, well, I'm going to be good at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, them jobs like that is like character development. It actually makes you better at communicating, being able to take rejection, things that you actually need just to grow in the world.
No,
really,
exactly. Like, just being, having conversations with people, trying to overturn an objection, trying to, get them to see kind of the way you see things, get them to empathize with you. These are kind of the key skills that comes to be when you're trying to convince someone to donate to a cause that they might not have donated to before, And I feel like, I was, for the first few weeks, it was tough going. Like, I wasn't good at all. Like, I was terrible. But I had heart, I had like I was like, I want to be good at this.
As long as you're
Because
showing up.
I can't go home with my, toe between my legs and say, oh no,
And
I
then,
failed,
the devil like, I told you so.
Exactly. I was not willing to hear those words.
Yeah.
I told you so. I was like, no. I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna get good. If it's the last thing I do. So a few weeks in, started getting a little bit better. Started understanding why I was doing it, and started. You convince one person to do it, you get a really good feeling. Because this person now donates to a charity, and you get people saying how you've inspired them to do this, and you get people all the positive things that people just obviously you get a lot of negatives, talking about earlier, but kind of going past the negatives and seeing the positives, and you get people saying I'm so glad you stopped me today, and thank you very much for the work that you do, and it's because of people like you that we can actually we can save a life, because people like you, we can provide resources to people in countries that don't have the resources. It's just you then get that kind of feeling that you're doing something good here. That despite the rejection, despite everything else, you're doing something that changes someone's life.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone in a definitely in a worse position than you. I feel like one of the things that you really understand when you start doing this job is when like you're let's say you're working for like World Aid. And you're trying to stop someone and they're like, I'm starving. In my head, it's just wild. It's just the most bizarre thing. Because even the concept to say something like, you don't know what starving is.
Yeah,
you don't understand the meaning of that word. You've never been in a position where food is literally, there's no food within a 500-mile radius. That's starving.
For sure.
Definitely.
But it's just something that we kind of use, and people even use that as an excuse not to stop. Oh, sorry, I'm on my way to lunch, I'm starving. And I'm like, it's, you start to take these things, not personally, but you start to take these things, you start to think that, the work that you do is so important that you need to try and overturn things like that. You need to try and change the mindset as to what starving is and why it's so important to stop for charity. Have a bit of a conversation and try and get people to donate money. And I feel like just in doing that, and trying to defy my dad and trying to find something that I was good at, I kind of fell into that charity world. And you started enjoying what you were doing. You started seeing the benefits of what you were doing. When they told you, this is, you've raised, X amount of money, you got really proud of what you did because, this is some money that's going towards a good cause.
Sure.
So obviously eventually became a team leader and, started kind of going up in the ranks of like, charity fundraising. And that was really good, because then it's like recognition for a job well done. And, putting you in a position where you get to train other people in terms of, how they can be fundraisers and how can they be good at it. People who are probably as crap as me or, worse, or maybe even better, and then giving them the necessary skills and tools to be able to, have that conversation with someone and convince them to donate.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that was kind of how I fell into charity and, it's just something that I've always done. I've always felt like it's a very humbling experience because the thing about going into med school because it's funny, at that time I used to work for Abercrombie & Fitch as well, which is obviously a clothing brand. And it's just a contrast of being in med school, working for Abercrombie & Fitch, and then also being a charity fundraiser. When you're in med school, people are like, oh, you're in med school, you're going to be a doctor. When you work at Abercrombie & Fitch, people are like, oh, you work at Abercrombie & Fitch, that's so good. When you're a charity fundraiser, people are like, oh, you're a charity fundraiser.
True.
That's cool. I guess that's okay. It's and obviously the kind of rejection that you get, and it's just the balancing act. I feel like it's a very humbling thing to be. Your job is to get rejected. Your job is to get ignored. Your job is to get people swearing at you. People saying, "Mate, I literally had someone say, just die once."
Oh my god!
And I was like, I'll just go do that. Why not? I'll just, do it on my next break. So it's, that's kind of where my love for charity kind of originated because although I'd rather take all that stuff, all that anger and things like that, you'd rather take it because you're sifting through to find one person or two people who will be like, I'm glad you stopped me today. Thank you for the work that you do. And, I'm glad I joined this charity. I was actually looking for a charity to join, and here we are, opportunity. And they end up giving forever. They end up, being tied into that cause and being an advocate for that cause and convincing other people around them to donate to that cause. So you're essentially spreading seeds that obviously grow into, the work that the charity is doing, helping other people. So that's kind of where my love for charity originated. And I've been doing that for the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What would you say is the biggest challenges with like charities? Obviously, probably the people and getting them on board and everything. But off your experiences or whatever. But what do you think is like the biggest challenges from charities?
The biggest challenges is it's the everyday. It's the dealing with rejection, the constantly, and trying to teach other people how to do that as well. Because actually, I'm not sure. I feel like charity is one of those jobs where people have tried at least once. You've been like, I can do this. 3 hours later, no, I can't do this.
I think also maybe disrespect that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's something that people actually respect when they should. I don't know. I've never had to really, I've done a bit of charity, but
I think it's not trusted. That's the thing, because a lot of people think like, oh, what's that money actually going to do?
It's more like, we see it as a scam. They're trying to scam us or something like that. That's the risk, like the narrative that's out there about charity work. When it's not like that, you know what I mean? It's it does go to help people. That are very in need, especially different countries and stuff like that, so we should all, I think we should all, I fucked that up.
You just go again.
We should all try to put our hands together and try to help, where we can. There's a lot of people that are in need in different countries and different, areas, so we love what we do. So
I feel like if you have you have a circumstance and you're put in a position to help other people, I feel like my general thinking with that is just, why wouldn't you? And that's always been my general thinking. I feel like that obviously comes from a lot of like upbringing in terms of if you can help your brother, you can help your sister, you can help your neighbor. Why wouldn't you?
For sure. And we'll have links to your charity in the description and everything if people want support out there. And show love to what you're doing for sure. So we'll definitely get people on board on that too. So
So fill me in with your modeling career. How did that come about? How did you start?
I wouldn't quite call it a career, mate.
Well, you're a man of many hats, so fill us in with what you do.
So, I'd say it all started kind of with working for Abercrombie & Fitch. So I got like scouted. This was like years ago. This was actually just coincidentally when I started the charity work. So I got scouted for Abercrombie & Fitch. And obviously Abercrombie & Fitch right now, has a terrible reputation for how they treated their staff and how kind of shallow they were in terms of the branding, and they only hired people who they thought were good looking, quote unquote. And obviously back then, this is, how old was I, 17, 18? You're not really, Abercrombie & Fitch back then, it was pretty much like undercover. It wasn't so like what it is now. It's now it's like an expose. But back then it was like, I work for Abercrombie & Fitch. Oh, this is a big deal, It was all, it was all exciting and stuff. And that kind of got me thinking, I can, go into this modeling stuff. Because obviously Abercrombie & Fitch did like a lot of in-house like stuff. Like they used their own models for like their bags. They used their own models for like their clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff they did. So you do like, you do like shootings, you do like casting calls. They did like all that stuff in-house.
Yeah.
Which obviously is kind of like a taste into like modeling and what it's like. Obviously, as you can understand, modeling is very subjective.
Yeah.
It just depends what you're looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't. I feel like with modeling, it's just about not taking things personally. Like if you don't get picked for a job, or if you go for a casting and you don't get it, it's not necessarily about you. It's just, you're just not really what they're looking for. So kind of got into that with Abercrombie & Fitch, worked for Hollister for a little bit as well, did some like fashion shows, like Leeds fashion shows, did some, just like, when you're in that modeling, you meet more people who do modeling, and then they're like, oh, there's this opportunity, and then you go to that.
Like networking.
It's that whole kind of network of obviously different people and different things, and the more you do that, the more you get kind of immersed into that world. So I did that for a while, joined an agency, you know, and, you know, obviously they send out like casting calls and things like that. And yeah, it's, it came to a point where I'd have like clashes with like placement and like, you know, like a modeling gig.
Yep.
And obviously at that point, placement always comes first. You know, this is your career, this is what you're aiming towards, this is what you're striving towards. So it would be just a case of having to pick between the two. I'd always pick the placement because that's, you know, this is what I'm paying, you know, $9,000 a year for. You know, so I think that was kind of the biggest kind of issue with it. It was just, you had to pick. And it's something that I would never, you know, medicine was always the main goal.
What'd your parents think about your modeling? Were they kind of supportive, or like, why are you doing it? Like, what was
They were just like, oh, that looks nice. You know, as, you know, typical kind of African parents do. They're like, oh, that's nice. You know, but to them, they're like, but how's medicine? Right. As long as that's good.
As long as you're on that,
As long as that's good, you know, you can do anything else you want around that. But as long as that's
But if you left medicine to be a model, it would have been a different story.
that would have been. I think they would have lost their minds. Like, you know, quite literally. I'd never do that. Wasn't that brave. No.
Yeah, so Tolu, you've obviously been around the world and seen different cultures, and obviously you're in Australia right now. So what's your takes on the places you've been?
No, I just love traveling, man. Just experiencing different cultures, just doing different things. Obviously, you know, born in Nigeria, moved to London when I was younger. And you just kind of, I feel like this is kind of the time to do it, you know, when you don't really have any attachments, when you're, you know, a bit fluid with your medical practice, when you're, you know, you're not like in a training program, you're not like, you know, there's nothing really like holding you down, if that makes sense. So obviously, you know, later you get in life, you know, you might have other attachments,
responsibilities,
and, you know, responsibilities. So I've just tried to really live in the places that I've gone to, you know, not just like a, you know,
tourist,
kind of whistle stop tour. But see what the everyday is like. You know, because you can't, you know, say you've, you know, lived in a place without, you know, spending a significant amount of time there.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's just, that's pretty much what I'm doing really. Just like, you know, trying to understand different cultures, trying to, you know, be in America for a little bit, you know, obviously now in Australia, and just kind of seeing where those opportunities take you.
I
feel like it's important to understand how, you know, other parts of the world live. You know, you don't want to be in like your own little bubble. And be 100%. Like, this is my reality, and I like it. It's fine if that's what you want to do.
100%.
But I've never really been that kind of person. Do you know what I mean? I always want to. It's the next opportunity to go to the next place, do the next thing. You know, that kind of, you know, kind of gun-club mentality, which obviously drives my parents crazy. Because their forefront is like, you know, settle down. Why don't you just settle down? You know? What else do you have to see? I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, they're very supportive, but I understand where they come from. You know, I've got, you know, there are 3 of us, and, you know, the other 2 are married. You know, so it's just kind of me, you know, just hang it out. So I can understand like kind of their trepidation and understand where that comes from. And obviously, it comes from a place of love. You know.
100%.
But yeah, I'm kind of just, you know, kind of seeing the world at the moment, man.
Have you been back to Nigeria though?
Yeah, I've been back to Nigeria. I did my medical elective in Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
So like medical elective is something you do in like your 4th year of med school. Essentially when you go to like a different part of the world and you just kind of practice medicine there for a little bit, or observe, or, you know, just kind of see what they do there, you know. And just understanding kind of, I mean, I suppose making you understand and appreciate what you have, where you are. You know, and how it's not like this in other parts of the world, and understanding how healthcare can differ. So I did my, you know, medical elective in Nigeria, and my God, what an experience. Because, you know, healthcare in Nigeria is...
What's the different challenges that you've, like, faced in the medical world in Nigeria compared to here in Australia?
Nigeria was just different, you know. It's just the, you know, healthcare system there is, you know, it's, I just saw a lot of things that, you know, when you do 4 years of med school in the UK, you just never really think about, you know, and you just never really understand. And obviously it's just depending on the kind of system. Obviously Nigeria works on there's a public healthcare system, but it's kind of similar to Australia in terms of you still have to pay for that. But there isn't like a general taxation that, you know, subsidizes that. So you still have to pay for that. And there's a private healthcare system where you have to you pay for that anyway, because obviously it's private.
Yeah.
But even with the public healthcare system, you're still paying, you're paying less money, but you're still paying the money, if that makes sense, And obviously when you look at the kind of socio-economic differences in Nigeria, a lot of people can't afford to pay that.
Yeah.
A lot of people really have to contemplate, saving a life over how much money can I raise?
Yeah.
And these are real tough questions.
That's crazy.
Like real tough questions that, you see play out like in people's faces and their heads, and you're like, this is a tough decision, isn't it? Yeah. People, will get support from all their family members and say, you go into hospital, I need to raise X amount of money. You don't. It's interesting to see, because obviously in the UK you can see that the healthcare gets taken for granted, because it's a system you've had for a long time.
Yeah, it's just what you know.
It's just what you know, and you just expect. Even with the way that healthcare staff are treated in the UK by the general public at times, they just expect to get this care.
Yeah,
because this is their experience. This is your job. This is what you do. So, I need, you get patients being rude to nurses in A&E. You get all these things that, people just don't understand and appreciate, the kind of healthcare that they have, which is kind of the biggest thing I took from, like, my experience in Nigeria. It's you really should appreciate the healthcare that you have, because,
Well, it's the last line of defense, seriously, like, before you go to wherever you're going to go, heaven, you know what I mean? Like, the last person that you see before anything happens, it's, the person's taking care of you medically. So healthcare workers, man, they don't get enough respect as they should have. It's definitely something us people need to talk more about, and having someone like you, he telling us your experiences, it's, we don't really appreciate these kind of things. We don't really appreciate you guys enough for what you guys do.
Even the nurses as well. Like, even during the COVID times, everyone just put it over their heads. You guys are doing these long hours, taking in these mass amount of people, like stressful times, and no one really gave, the hats off to the doctors and the nurses that were there. So shout out to the doctors and nurses that were doing their thing.
Shout out to the whole healthcare system. Like, it's because it's when you think about healthcare, it's a multidisciplinary team.
For sure.
For a reason, it's everyone. People are like, oh, doctors save lives, but when you think about it in reality, it's your healthcare team who saves your life. You have nurses who spend so much time with the patients. They do their day-to-day, they do their care, they do so many things that you don't, I feel like a lot of people do take for granted. They're like, oh, I want to see a doctor, but you're, completely disregarding someone who's essentially held your hand through, like, your worst times. It's just, it's, hindsight's 20/20. When you look at it or look back at it, you might think, oh, maybe I should have been nicer to that healthcare professional. Maybe I should have done this, I should have done that. But it's just understanding and appreciating the amount of hard work that goes into it, because, you pour your emotional self into these patients, and some people don't get that back. And especially when you lose a patient like that, you lose a part of yourself. Like, you can't love someone that hard, or spend that much time caring for someone and not care. Pass away.
For sure.
It's impossible to do.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, for sure. So Tolu, man, with how your life's going and, with your direction that you're taking, where do you see yourself in, like, next 5-10 years? Like, what's your ideal lifestyle?
Good question. I can say my parents' ideal lifestyle for me would be settled down.
Get that ring, huh?
I'm sure your mum probably got like some girls telling you, "Hey, marry this one."
Or talking to an auntie or something, like someone else. For sure.
Ideally, obviously, my parents, like, perspective, like, point of view, they want me to settle down. I'd say mine personally is, I don't know, I just want to be happy with what I'm doing. I feel like that's such a rare thing to get in this day and age. You have certain qualifications, you've done certain things, and people don't expect you to do certain things with what you've done. But it's just about being in a place, or a point where, like, I'm happy with where I am. I've got a good trajectory. I've, got a good idea of where I want to be, and I'm enjoying life right now. I feel like that's just the rare thing. I feel like a lot of times you're always trying to get to the next, the next. But you're not. I'm sure everyone's seen this meme before, like, on Instagram. It's like, it says, like, you once prayed for where you are right now. And it's true.
That's 100%.
Like, when you were in med school, you're thinking, oh, I just want to be a doctor. I just want to graduate. When you graduate, you're like, oh, I just want to be a I just want to be going into a specialty. You know, you're always thinking, oh, I just want to be. But it's being happy being in med school, being happy, you know, being a doctor, being happy traveling the world. You know, I feel like in 5-10 years, I want to be, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty big statement, but I want to be happy with what I'm doing.
You have to be happy.
That could literally be anything, you know.
100%.
I just want to be happy with what I'm doing and hoping it's, you know, essentially bringing some good, you know, making some changes, you know, in other people's lives, you know, not just your own. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like having that kind of influence, that kind of impact. I feel like that's, you know, everyone wants to leave a legacy or, you know, leave a name for themselves. I feel like I want to be doing something that, you know, you're going to think about in, you know, 100 years and be like, you know, this was a big turning point. This was a big difference.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And this is only the beginning, my brother. Like, you're doing amazing things and you're still young.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you've got a long road ahead and you're going to continue doing great things. I see it in you. And,
God willing.
you know, you inspire me. You inspire him, you know? This is why we're here today, you know, sharing your story. And, man, like, God bless you for what you're doing, the lives that you're changing, the lives that you're saving, you know? You know, the people that you're inspiring, they all, you know, matter. And you matter. So we appreciate your work, honestly.
100%.
Continue doing what you're doing, my brother.
Thank you.
You know?
So for our listeners at home who want to learn more about you online or get to follow you or support you, where can they find you?
So mostly on Instagram. I'd say that's kind of I don't really use LinkedIn. Although, I mean, maybe I should. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like with medicine it's different. With LinkedIn, we just don't really use it. I mean, I suppose you can update the world and you're like, you know, what you're doing, this is me.
Yeah.
But yeah, with medicine, it's not really relevant. But yeah, probably Instagram.
Yeah.
Just Dr. Tolu. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have the links for that anyway. So yeah, if you want to follow him, and for the people that don't have Instagram though, what about even your charity website? You got a charity website?
Yeah, we've got like a charity website,
Yeah.
but it's like mostly like, you know, it's like an actual, you know, you can message a charity, but it won't,
Yeah, it won't get to you.
not really.
I feel you.
But yeah, I mean, what do I use more than, I mean, yeah, probably LinkedIn then. Be really outdated, but sure.
We'll have everything on the link below anyway. So, yeah, you can know where to find him. Definitely.
And yeah, I was just gonna ask, do you have any advice just for, you know, the younger viewers or just anyone that kind of enjoys your story or just anything you want to say to anyone out there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say yeah, like kind of what we were talking about earlier, just in terms of, you know, kind of you prayed for, you know, where you are right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say just kind of living in the moment and enjoying it, because I mean, obviously, I'm sure everyone knows, and this is just general fact, life isn't all sunshine and roses.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's a lot of good moments, a lot of enjoyable moments, but then it's also a lot of other not enjoyable moments.
Dark times.
For sure.
So it's just kind of understanding when you're having an enjoyable moment and just, you know, kind of being in the moment, like enjoying it, and so that when the not so enjoyable moments come, you can, you know, at least you can say, oh, it's not all crap, or it's not all bad, you know, because you've enjoyed the moments that were enjoyable.
For sure.
That's pretty much it. I mean, it's living in the good times, bro. Living in the good times, because it's not all good times.
What can you tell, you know, a young man or a young girl out there that wants to be in your position in life? What message do you have for them?
I'd say do it, man. And this is something we said in medicine all the time, man. It's, you know, temporary pain. Yeah, because that's what it is. It's that graft, that grind, putting your head down, getting it done. You know, and, you know, the benefits you reap from that will, you know, serve you well in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'd just say, obviously, impossible for me to be where I am, obviously, without God. And that's kind of my biggest thing. I'd say that's obviously not saying you have to be religious. Obviously, everyone's different. But for me personally, I'd say God obviously played a huge part in kind of where I am today. And it's just kind of knowing that you've kind of got God on side. Not saying that I always do. I try and be a better Christian, of course. But knowing that you know, God is always there, you know, kind of wanting your best interest and wanting the best for you.
Yeah.
It's a comfort, you know, it's kind of like a peace that you can't explain. If that makes sense.
100%, yeah.
Because you can't find that anywhere else, in my opinion. But like I said, that's just me personally.
Even during like hard times, it's like kind of like God puts that out for you to become the person you're supposed to be. That's like, it's like kind of crafting you to be the person you're supposed to be, or the story you're supposed to be telling. Or so yeah, that's some good advice, man. But wrap it up.
So thank you for your time, Dr. Tolu. Remember, guys, to comment, like, share, and subscribe. My man, you're changing the world. You're inspiration, and we love what you're doing. We're behind you 100%, and continue doing what you're doing. Like, you're really changing the world in everything that you do. So we appreciate your time here today.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me, man. Obviously, I appreciate being on the podcast, my first podcast. But yeah, no, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.
It's nice to have a platform to talk about these things, and obviously, thank you for what you're doing as well. So trying to get, you know, people out there in the limelight in terms of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And trying to, you know, just put, essentially just give them the kind of recognition that's due. So it's just nice to have that platform.